Time, space, reality, all things that give me an existential crisis. I am the watcher. I do not interfere. I only watch the show and have a lot of feelings about it. Welcome back to the TV Corner, guys. Today we are talking about What If.
What if?
What If is an anthology series by the MCU looking at different situations in the movies and how it would have turned out different if certain things hadn't happened. It is also the MCU's first animated piece. This is a really fun show. Like, it really is. It's definitely one of the more fun ones, I think, that Marvel's put out recently, because we've had a lot of serious ones like Loki and especially Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which even Loki and WandaVision, they were fun, but they had some more intense elements to them here and there. But this one being animated and, being just kind of like a what if this would have happened, and, sort of just like an anthology, it's a lot more fun because you can kind of sit back a little bit and just kind of be like, yeah, what if? But that doesn't mean that there aren't intense moments, because there are. And I'll get to this in a second, the fact that apparently all of these moments are canon, but the intense moments are very intense. Like, there are some things that I was like, that is some serious shit. That's like serious consequences. So it was kind of insane just dealing with this whole actual multiverse and like things that can happen because of one little decision was nuts. And the way that they put characters together in each episode was really interesting, because certain characters come back, different times throughout each episode just because it's different worlds. So they're a different character in each world. And it was just cool how they combined them, who became who. It was a really interesting idea. One of the most interesting characters, though, is the Watcher. He's just really cool. I actually didn't think he was gonna have an actual body or face, because in the poster he's just like this outline in the sky, and you see different sides of the galaxy. And I thought that's all he was gonna be, which I thought was really cool. He does end up having like a figure, which we see later on, but Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher was awesome. His voice was perfect for it, and the Watcher's character is just so interesting because he can't interfere. All these things happen that are just terrifying, and he can't do anything about it. So it was really cool, and he does have a lot of power, which was awesome. Also, just the animation itself was really cool. It was a little unnerving at first because, like, those commercials that came out like probably like almost a decade ago now, and they were like for medicine, but it was like this weird animation, like they had taken real photos and just sort of animated them over top. It's like that. So like it was really kind of a weird animation at first to get used to, but it is really cool, and it feels very MCU because it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just a cartoon or something. It feels like, okay, this is still serious, but because of the animation and that sort of style that they were able to go with, they can do other things. They can take other liberties that, one, they might not be able to do just with live action in general, and two, because with animation, you know how it's like things can be quicker. The dialogue can be a little more stilted just because we're used to that in animation, and it can just exposition can go a lot faster. I think that really helped. And also the voice acting was super cool because some people they couldn't bring back to voice their original characters, but some they could, including Chadwick Boseman. I did not realize it, but this was his last project that actually, came out. So it was really interesting to have his voice be in there, because it was pretty emotional just to hear it one last time. But the voice acting overall was really cool because it was interesting to see who came back, who actually was voicing their real characters. It definitely made it feel like it's still part of the MCU. I do have a middle element with this, and that is that apparently all of this is canon to the MCU. At first, I thought it was like, okay, it's just sort of like an anthology that it's, well, like it says in the title, what if? Just what if this happened and it's not really real. But apparently, these are all canon, which makes sense if we're going to go into the multiverse. A multiverse can literally exist of anything. But it's just weird because it might be because it's animated, it might be because some of these things are so insane, but I just I don't know if it's that I don't care or if it's that I don't believe it. It just feels so separated because of the medium that they used, because of the ideas that are used. it doesn't feel like it's a part of this universe that we are used to. And that is, I think, just a theme throughout this entire phase, that we're going to have to get used to a multiverse. We're going to have to get used to the universe that we watched for the first 3 phases isn't the only one that we're dealing with anymore. So that is, I think, sort of an issue, but not an issue within itself just for the whole phase. But for this one specifically, I just couldn't quite believe that a lot of this, even if I knew logically that it is canon, I couldn't quite believe it, so I didn't care as much. But I will say, if this really is canon, there are some things that are like, that's really messed up, or that's really sad. I have a couple different lows, but they really all come down to one thing, which I've sort of already mentioned, is that it just sometimes feels like things that I don't really care about. Again, it's supposed to be canon, and I think it's because of the fact that it just feels so separated that a lot of the episodes I didn't care as much about. Not even in terms of just like the whole universe, but just that episode in general. Some of them are like, the premise is cool, and then it's like, okay, yeah, what if? Well, this would have happened. Cool. But then you still have 25 minutes of figuring out where the episode's going to go, and it feels not like going through the motions, but just like, yeah, I probably could have guessed that. Every so often. But a lot of the episodes were really interesting. They felt very quick-paced, like almost a little unnaturally quick-paced. But again, animation, you can kind of get away with that. But I think overall, even the end, there was something that was really huge. I mean, like, really huge. Almost like it should have been one of the movies huge. It felt like, okay, cool, it's over, it's done. It's probably the biggest thing that the MCU has done conceptually, and it was done in like a 20-minute episode. So that was kind of weird. It just almost makes things feel a little inconsequential, even for some characters. We've already kind of talked about this and seen this like in Loki with the Infinity Stones, but it just makes some characters, some plots that we've done before feel a little bit less consequential, or like they have a lot of weight to them. Which, again, I think is just going to be an effect of this phase, It's kind of one of those things that once you watch this phase, you can go back, but it really won't be the same, because it won't feel like it's had this weight anymore, because there's so many universes where so many things happen that this is only one of them. This is just another small thing, but I wish that they had defined the Watcher's powers just a little bit more, like what he could do. Because he can't do a whole lot, but what he can do, I wasn't sure the extent, and that might come in Season 2, because they are going to have a Season 2. So overall, What If is very fun. It does have its issues conceptually in terms of just making things feel a little bit more interesting, or making them feel believable in terms of this is actually happening in the MCU, and that just might be for me. But it is still really fun. It was a great show to come back to each week and just be like, yeah, what if this happened? It was really cool. It was really relaxing. They were very short episodes, so it was really cool. The animation, the voice acting, everything. It is still a really fun watch, no matter what. And it did have some really interesting ideas to do the what ifs with. I'm going to give What If a 3 out of 4. Let me know what you thought of What If. There is a lot to think about in this show, even if it doesn't look like it at first. But let me know your thoughts on it. What was your favorite episode? What is something that you wonder about in the MCU? What if this little detail hadn't happened, or had happened? What's one that you think? Comment that down below. I'm curious. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and TV shows right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.